Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Radio Oz with Metal Mike. Of course, I'm Metal Mike. Tonight, we have two gentlemen from one of my all-time favorite bands, The Crucified, along with a gentleman that's also in a band called Applehead. These gentlemen are playing together this weekend, though, as Applehead in Tennessee. So we'll discuss that as the night goes on, and we'll discuss a lot of history these two gentlemen have. So welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Hey,
thanks for having us.
Yeah,
No problem. I appreciate y'all offering to be here with me. Tonight,
sure.
we're going to start out with Greg and give him let him introduce himself and tell us a little bit briefly about himself, and then we'll move to Jim and move through the evening as we tell stories of the past.
Well, my name is Greg Manier. I'm 56 years old, and I like dogs and
walks on the beach.
Walks on the beach. I really like the beach. I like vacationing with my family. And no, Greg Manier. I play guitar and sing and play other things. And I have a project called Applehead. Played guitar for The Crucified, but most importantly, I played in a band called KGB at the beginning. That started it all. Yeah, that was
classic.
Yeah, that was the best, the absolute best.
All right, Jim, sure, turn a little bit there.
That's it? No other bands, Greg? Who else was there, Greg?
No one else matters. No one else matters.
Say it, though. I can't remember. Was it Mary Jane? It wasn't Mary Jane. What was it?
Sweet Mary. There was Sweet Mary. Yeah.
Sweet Mary. Yeah.
Band. Played in a lot of cover bands, some tribute bands, and all sorts of stuff.
You're doing a cover band now, currently, too, that you're playing pretty often with, ain't you?
Yeah. Play a few times a month. Mm-hmm.
So, all right, we'll get into more of that as we get through the evening, though. So, on to Jim, the man of 1,000 bands.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, Jim Chaffin. Hi, how's it going? Yeah, I started out with KGB with Gregory Michael there, and when we were kids. And Crucified. Then I went to Utanda, then The Blamed, then Face Down, and I've been in Deliverance on and off here and there. I am currently in Deliverance also. I'm in a punk band called Trash and Privilege right now. Also, that's with some local friends. Just, it's not necessarily a Christian band per se, like a ministry band or anything, just a punk band. And I also play in cover bands here in town that do like 90s music. And I play at my church, Loma Vista in Clovis, California, on Sundays sometimes when I'm home. So,
when I'm home.
Yeah.
So busy, both of you busy men.
Yeah.
So taking your time out this evening, I really appreciate that.
100%. So, can I correct Greg real quick a little bit? Can I mention some things that he's done that he doesn't want to mention?
You want to embarrass him? Go right ahead. I'm not in the middle of this.
No, it's nothing embarrassing. So, I mean, we'll probably get into it when we get into the stories. But I hate Greg because he's so good at all the stuff that he does.
Oh, yeah.
That's like, he's one of those guys like, oh, I play guitar. Oh, yeah, I play drums. Oh, I sing. You want me to sing? Yeah, I can sing. He does everything. So, and he does a killer cult tribute band where he sings, and dude, it's dead on. I got to play with him once, and it was so dang fun. But I noticed it looked like you got a show going on out there in Tennessee with the cult tribute band, which he kills it. Greg is very, very good at all the stuff that he does. So I can't stand him.
Well, thank you. Yeah. The Ian Astbury from the Cult is my favorite singer on recordings, not live. Horrible. Yeah. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah.
I've actually never seen them live, but with all the YouTube stuff you can watch now.
That's right.
Even going back in the day, So fortunately for me, I can sound like him. So I really always loved singing their songs, and and had a tribute band before I moved to Tennessee. We only played about 4 times before we moved, and then that band broke up. But I did come back, flew back to California for one show at the Madera Fair, and our drummer was missing in action. I'll leave it at that. And so I called up Jim and said, "Hey, you want to play this gig?" And he'd hardly listened to any of that band's music, and it's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." So I forget how much notice you even had, Jim. Maybe a couple weeks, if that.
Yeah, a couple of weeks at least, yeah.
And Jim came out and played it and just nailed it. It was awesome.
Well, it's one of those bands that from the late '80s. It's underrated.
Yeah, but like, you might not be able to name their songs, but if you hear the song, you're like, oh yeah, that song. Oh yeah, I know that song. Oh yeah, that song. I mean, they have a lot. But we'll get into other stuff later. I mean, I'll let you direct, Mike. Go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. We're having fun. That's all important.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, if you hear the only song I think everybody knows is Firewoman.
Right.
That's the biggest one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Seacell Sanctuary.
Yeah. Those two. Yeah, for sure. Anyways, let's go back in time. We brought up a history that began with KGB in the 80s, but not as the KGB that we were taught in the 80s.
Yeah.
So let's start back then and move through a little bit there with that.
I'll go back before that, way before that. So
way before that.
Jim was my older brother Brett's. They were best friends. And I think I met Jim when I was either in 3rd or 4th grade.
Yeah.
And they used to beat up on me, sit on my head, fart on my head and stuff.
Fart on him all the time.
Stuff. But anyway, the 3 of us, I'll say, wrote some songs. You know, they weren't like complete songs or anything, but we recorded stuff on cassette tapes and everything, and it was pretty goofy. But so Jim and I actually started playing when I was in elementary school.
Yeah, Greg would just come up with a riff, a little, just what he could do. Doom, 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 doom.
Remember, it was mostly on the keyboard because we borrowed all the equipment from the church. We got that whole PA and moved it in one of the bedrooms. And then Brett was in another room and put all the cables over there. And he was recording, and you were playing drums and singing. And I was playing the keyboard with 2 fingers. And
it was a keyboard? I thought you were playing guitar. That's how I remember you playing guitar.
One riff, dun, 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 and I forget which song that was. But we were horrible little kids in the
I was going to say the Casio or Sony.
I didn't write the lyrics. I was too young to write those lyrics. But
you could imagine, though, 12 years old in the early 80s, all the stuff that you were saying to your friends, we put into songs. Yeah. So, nothing we should probably repeat now, but you definitely get canceled for. But
well, I think half of us would for what we thought in the 80s.
Yeah.
So, okay, moving on. Oh, was there a name of that band? Was that the Mary Jane or?
No.
We didn't really have a name for it, did we?
No, we never. It really just was goofing around at the house and recording these little things, but we never like became a band or anything. It was just around with all the equipment that we borrowed from the church and filled the house up with.
That's
and then KGB came after that.
And then KGB. Well, I never could play an instrument. I tried, and then my brother learned and history wrote himself. He played with Travis Meeks of Days of the New before he was even famous. In my parents' garage.
Okay.
So that's our short claim to fame, but not notwithstanding with Travis's life choices as time went on. So, anyways, going to KGB. So where did you all come together? Because there was quite a few of you that came through that neighborhood.
It literally was. Did you say neighborhood? It was neighborhood. We were all kind of in the same area of town in Madera, except for the original singer Wayne. He lived out in a place called the Ranchos, which is kind of a sub part of kind of in between Fresno and Madera. If you're familiar with California, you're not. That's fine. But yeah, we all lived together in the same area. We all went to the same church, which is a Grace Community Church, and went to the youth group together. And we just, from what I remember, is just we liked listening to Christian music, and anything that seemed hard, was like, oh, listen to that. Oh, listen to that. Like Petra, Judas Kiss, or Steve Taylor stuff even coming out with a Meltdown at Madame Tussauds or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, was like, we were all kind of drawn to that kind of stuff, but we wanted to do something more, or like, hey, we could do that. Let's do some stuff. Then we heard Altar Boys, Lifesavers, Undercover, bands like that. And we're like, oh man, let's go that direction. And so at least that's what I remember. I think Greg was listening to Styx and no. Yeah.
Well, you're missing part of the story though,
Oh,
Jim.
yes. Fill it in, bro.
Me, Jim, and Kirk, our first bass player, he played he was a keyboard player, and then he got a keytar. But we were playing at youth group on some Wednesday nights with one of our youth pastors, and we would play like one of his songs, and then we would play like one or two current Christian cover songs. Well, what started happening is that was with Barry Bernard.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Jeff Eitzen.
No, it was with Barry Bernard.
Oh, okay.
And what started happening is all of us kids would show up to rehearsal before Barry got there, and I would get on the guitar. And so me, Jim, and Kirk would start playing around with some music and these little punk rock riffs and stuff. And we decided we needed to ditch the youth pastor and form a band. And that's what we did. And we got Wayne, who also went to youth group, as our singer, and we formed KGB.
There you go.
Yeah.
And that was Kids with God's Blessing, correct?
Kids in God's Blessing.
Yeah. Of course, because there was, DRI, MDC, GBH, everything was, the what is that acronym or whatever.
Right.
So we're like, we got to do one. What's KGB? And then it was like, okay, what is that going to mean? So we had to find a Bible verse to kind of justify it, Yeah.
So did your church home at that time? I know growing up, it was that was a tough market to get into, having your church believe that, hey, this is something we can use. Did y'all have that issue?
No. Oh, yes, we did.
Yes. Yeah. They did not
like it one bit. They did not like it.
They didn't. They did not understand. They kind of like, oh yeah, that's cute. Okay, yeah, go ahead, guys. Sure, yeah, whatever. You can practice at the church. And then there was a couple times they started showing up to the practice just to check in on us and stuff. And man, I'll never forget. I don't know if it was Barry or Wade, Bob Wade, who saw the Undercover. We were listening to Undercover's new album, Boys Against the World, or World. Yeah. No, is it Boys Against the World?
Boys and Girls Against the World.
Boys and Girls Against the World. And, on the back, I think Jim Nicholson's got an earring. And they seen that and they're like, oh, wow, whoa, earrings. You guys sure this is legit, Christian stuff? And we were like, yeah, listen to the lyrics, which, Undercover, give me a break. Undercover and the Altar Boys were like, every song you had to say Jesus in it,
And they did.
Yeah. And yeah, but still he had earrings. So, oh boy, man, remember, I think it was by the time we were the Crucified, the one time that our show got canceled there at the church. Remember that, Greg?
I don't know if we were the Crucified yet or still KGB, but yeah, by then Mark was already in the band. Wayne had quit and left for whatever. I forget why did Wayne leave, Jim?
I don't remember if he left or if we asked him to not do it.
No,
I can't remember.
I feel like he left. I don't think we asked him to not do it. I think
because he stayed as our manager for a little bit.
He left, and he's the one who set us up with Mark, and suggested we try out Mark. And then he stayed on as our manager. But I don't remember the reason. But I think we were still KGB then when we had a show booked at our church. Grace Community, which was like a super legalistic church. And anyway, Mark would draw all the flyers and everything, looked super cool, Yeah. And we put them all up at high school and all over town and stuff. And the night of the show, we're all set up and ready to play, and all these cars start coming in the parking lot. We're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be awesome. Because we had played.
People are actually showing up.
We had played we'd played 2 shows before that. Our very first show was at the park, and we opened up for a mariachi band. Remember that?
Yeah.
The very first show. Second show we played with Mark, and that was at the Madero Farm Bureau, which was a like a
big auditorium,
portable manufactured office building. No stage or anything. It was just fold out chairs and probably 10 people there. And then we had this show, and all these cars are coming in. All these kids are coming in. We're like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome, right? And then word got back to the pastor. I don't think the youth pastors told Pastor Brannon that this show was going on or something. I don't know, but he got word of it. And I don't know if he came down or what, but the show got canceled before we even started. I think one kid was smoking outside, and then supposedly there was graffiti in the bathroom, which someone took a ballpoint pen and wrote a little something. I don't know.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
It wasn't much, but it was like,
it wasn't 867-5309, was it?
Yeah. Yeah. But all they saw the people smoking, and he was like, oh no, we're not having this. And they shut it down. Yeah.
God forbid you have all these lost kids at a church coming to hear Christian music and share the gospel. We're going to shut this down because we don't want these people here.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
You were talking about deliverance earlier when we were talking about Jim being a member. I mean, I remember taking their first album released on Intense into my youth pastor at the time, and had to prove with Jehovah Jireh on there that, hey, this is a Christian band. See, this is a song we sing every Sunday morning.
Yeah. 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 It's just, it's funny because, go ahead.
Go ahead. You're fine.
No, I was just going to say, there was a lot against us, but we weren't the first, there were other bands that paved the way a little bit, and we just kind of opened the door a little more, for people. And I will say, it's just like a lot of the things in the church and in life in general, the pendulum kind of swings too far sometimes, and I think by the time I was 30 or 40, I was the guy going, what? That's Christian? Are you sure? Are you serious? Where is it? But, it was labeled Christian, but, you would read the lyrics. You're like, what are they talking about? You know what I mean?
Yeah, or how are they getting it?
Yeah, it was obvious in our time, in our early days, is like, if you were a Christian band or not. It's pretty obvious, Nobody had to guess.
I totally agree with that. That's what I was going to get into. I mean, you all were, for a young teenage band, as KGB, listening to those demos on the box set, of course.
Yeah.
That you were pretty blunt in your faith as a youth group kid. For them to come and say, hey, you're not a Christian band. I'm like, were you not even paying attention here to the program?
They were so just, yeah, we didn't know. Like I was, we were talking earlier. It's like we had no life experience. We were kids, but we were very convinced in our faith, and we thought, let's be radical for Jesus, so we're going to say it right to your face, and but we didn't. Yeah, it was pretty dang obvious. All the bands in town, the mainstream bands, they knew we were a Christian band. They didn't want to have anything to do with us.
So, but yeah, I can understand that too, especially at that time when you had a real separation.
Oh yeah, massive
with the scene. I mean, even Striper had some issues, but they started getting the respect as time went on. But it took a ton of time on both sides of the coin, the church side and the mainstream side, to really accept them. The church didn't know what to do with them or want them. The mainstream didn't want them, so they had to ride that thing out until somebody realized, hey, they're decent musicians. The lyrics, unfortunately, didn't help them, on either front. So, but anyways, so KGB ends and y'all Trained to the Crucified. Was that how soon after Mark joined the band was that? Would you say?
Your memory's better than mine on that one there, buddy.
I don't know how long, but as we got a little bit older and the music started getting a little more legitimately punk rock, we decided that KGB was a lame name and we didn't want to call ourselves Kids. So for a very short period, we were called Directed Youth, which was a song we had. And then I don't know who came up with the name The Crucified. I don't know if it was you, Jim, or if it was Mark. It was one of you two.
I remember it being me, but I didn't want to.
And we went with that. And then as The Crucified, then we went in and did up the Take Up Your Cross demo and then the Nail demo.
Yeah.
And then that began a life that probably neither one of you expected from there, because that got you signed to what would have been a big Christian label, record metal label at the time, with Pure Metal Regency.
Well, we were on Narrow Path.
We were on
Narrow Path.
Yeah.
But that was all intertwined at one point, wasn't it?
They were distributed by Pure Metal, but there was some disagreement with that record deal. I remember I did not want to sign with Narrow Path. They were startup with Greg Sostrom, and Greg's an awesome guy. He's an awesome guy. But I really was hoping that we would at least try to get signed to a secular label. I know Mark Solomon, Cooksey at the time, really liked the idea of Narrow Path because it was a startup underground punk label. Well, we were the first on a label, so it was a startup underground label. And Mark Johnson, the bass player, I feel like he was on my side, and then Jim, you and Mark were into Narrow Path.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly. But
what was there? There was like Metal Blade, and a couple of those labels, California labels that we could have approached.
And that was the thing is we never even approached them, and by then
never did. No,
by then we had enough. I mean, our shows in Southern California were already getting pretty dang good to where, those labels would at least have taken a look at us. And it's funny because what became the first self-titled album, Crucified album, we had already been in the studio and we'd cut like 5 of those songs to demo, to shop, to record labels. And then when we signed with Narrow Path, now all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, we got to go record an album. So we went back into the same exact studio with the same exact engineer and started completely over on it. And what became the Crucified Self titled album sounded like complete crap compared to the same songs we demoed in the same studio with the same engineer months before.
And why was that, Greg?
Well, there's lots of reasons.
Yeah.
Everything sounded worse sonically, and we played the songs way faster because I think we went in and we're like, oh, well, now we have something to prove. And by that time, Deliverance's first album was out. Vengeance's first album was out.
This is 89, right?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure
Somewhere
if
around
Believe
there
was already out. It may have just come out by then, but we're like, okay, well, we can play really fast, you know. So
I'm talking about the way that it was sped up. It's not even
that's
not even the correct speed.
Here's the front story. Now that got fixed when Tooth and Nail re-released it, but everything that came out of Cosbos Studios, and we didn't even know how this happened, but so we recorded that record. You know, you record on this was a 16-track studio, so it was on 1-inch tape. And then you mix it down onto, that was a 1/4-inch tape. You mix it down to, you send the 1/4-inch tape to be mastered, and then they press it. Well, the 1/4-inch tape machine at Cosbos Studios spun a little slow. So when they take those tapes and put them on a machine that's spinning at the right speed, what happens? The music is all faster now. Yeah. So our whole first record, for instance, most songs are in the key of E. You know, so the first song, The Pit, starts in E. Well, it was sped up so much that it was in F. So everything was a little bit faster, but it also made a lot of the sounds that were already not good, the guitar sounds, especially the snare sound.
Man. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Horrible on that record. But it just it amplified everything. Everything sounded worse. And we didn't know how that happened. And I figured it out after I went in there and recorded my Meneer demo, because when I took those reels and had my own cassettes printed up of them, the same thing happened. Everything was sped up. So I'm like, it's the tape machine. So long story short, when Rex Records wanted to release that Meneer thing, I said, okay, put the tapes on, grab a guitar that's tuned up, hit an E chord. It's the first chord you're going to hear on the Meneer thing, and slow that tape machine down until it matches the guitar, and then you're correct. And so that's what they did. Well, so years later, when Tooth and Nail re-released the first Crucified album, I had to tell them to do the same thing. Put it on a tape machine, slow it down, and get it correct. So yeah, I forgot about that the initial release of that record was sped up. And I remember when I was out of the band and John, who has replaced me, Maddox, he's trying to learn all these songs. He calls me, dude, why are you playing all these songs in F? It's the weirdest thing. I can't figure these songs out. It's so hard. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's because it was sped up. They're actually all in E, which makes sense to play around an open E string.
Yeah, that was nuts, man. I mean, I don't think we did you notice it right off the bat? Or
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it took us a while to even figure it out, but I remember the snare was just so boop, boop, boop sounding. I'm like, I don't remember
like
it sounding
anger?
like that. Yeah, well, yeah, almost that bad.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was super high pitch. I mean, my snare was high pitch because it was tight, but yeah, that was crazy. That was nuts, man. But you know, even with that, like we got it reviewed in Kerrang the metal magazine. It got reviewed in there and stuff, and they didn't say anything about that. So I don't know. They must have not have noticed it, but so.
Well, it's funny because you over critique your own stuff, and you always hate
yeah.
in the end. But I sit there and like when I every once in a while when I listen to like some old Minor Threat stuff, I'm like, this recording is absolutely horrible, but it sounds so good, because all the energy's there and it's nostalgia too.
Yeah,
right.
When you're younger, when you're a kid, you don't care so much about the sound. If you just dig the song, you dig the song. And so yeah, the record did well. And even on what was that big huge it was a national rock station.
KR something.
It was K something
in LA.
Yeah, it was a metal station.
K-Rock? Was it K-Rock?
Must have been K-Rock, yeah.
I don't remember.
ROC. KROC, yeah.
But yeah, y'all, I remember y'all getting great rave reviews for that. Because like I said, that's when I started listening. And I didn't have the luxury of knowing about the whole scene until later on. But
yeah.
And like I said, I didn't get to, since you were in California and I was in Kentucky, the only way I would have been able to hear that stuff is if y'all played Cornerstone, and I never got to go to Cornerstone, so I just got what was marketed at the time, basically.
Sure.
But I remember going back and learning the scene and seeing like the reviews you're just talking about, that you all had the legitimacy there at that point in your music. You were talking about Metal Blade. That was the level Slayer was on, for the longest of time when they first started. And then you had a bunch. That was the metal label. And then
100%.
For if you wanted to, Metallica even started way back when they had Metal Massacre 1 or whatever it was, where they were first heard. That would have been really legit.
Yeah,
especially at that time, because like we were just talking, the scenes were coming together slowly. They were being accepted because you had the demonic albums because of the Satanic Panic, but then they wanted the white metal bands to counteract that, to say, hey, metal's metal, no matter what you say or believe.
Yeah, some people did. Yeah, yeah, some people did.
But so going through that, that, like I said, them lyrics were bold, in your face. That whole time period in metal period was bold and in your face, and you were still just coming into your early 20s,
right?
And so, at that point, did you get to tour the States, or was it festival here, festival there, outside of California?
Well, for the longest time, it was either Los Angeles area or Cornerstone. We played up north. We're kind of like right in the middle of California. And we played the Omni up in Oakland a couple times.
Yeah.
But other than that, we didn't play up north a whole lot. It was more in the southern region and in the LA area, in San Diego, Escondido down there, and then Cornerstone. And then we went out and there was a couple times later on after Pillars. I think it was after Pillars before we even traveled and did anything, right? Because Jeff was in the band.
Yeah.
And it was centered around Cornerstone. It was like, maybe we'd play a show in LA, maybe New Mexico, Dallas.
On your way back and forth.
Yeah. And it wasn't like,
so no full.
It wasn't a 2-month long thing of all these shows. It was a couple of weeks, and we tried to fit them in. That was more mainly just because at the time we didn't have a real booking agent that was great, and there weren't a lot of venues that knew what to do with us, because we were popular in the Christian scene for sure, but in your mainstream metal scene or crossover punk, all that stuff, not so much, So it'd be hard for a booking agent to ask us to play at a place in 89, 90, 91,
Right.
whatever. Because somewhere in like where you're at, Louisville, Kentucky, it's like maybe 150 people know who we are in the whole state.
Right. And I run into that even with modern Christian scenes.
So
but the scene is completely. I mean, we're back to that bare minimum. Where you had the radio shows like we were just talking about that would be playing the music, but now it's internet radio or Spotify playlist, an Apple playlist, whatever. And that's the only way people are going to hear you, or word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Back then we had all these little zines. I mean, you had Heaven's Metal, you had White Throne, you had all those in the Christian scene, and then you had Kerrang, Metal Edge, and getting your stuff on, and like you said, you got and those and all those, you got into the magazine luckily at that time, but that doesn't mean you're going to make it.
No, it was cool if they reviewed it. Yeah,
right. Well, this is how you order it.
What was that the one punk one, Greg, out of Berkeley? That was huge. It was a zine, it was a punk zine out of there. Do you remember?
A secular one?
Yeah, mainstream one.
Oh, I don't remember.
It was, super popular. Anyway, they wouldn't touch us with a 10-foot pole.
And the thing was too is it's funny because our hometown, we were the first band out of Fresno, California ever to have a CD released, but our own town would not accept us for the longest time because we were Christians. And even after it took a long time. Even after the first record, there was still a lot of resistance. By the time Pillars came out and started doing well, then things started changing to the point of where I think one of our last shows in Fresno was in a theater. Remember, at the Wilson Theater, and we headlined that show with all local bands, and the place was probably 2/3 full. Which was big for there.
Yeah, right.
But as far as like why we never toured, like Jim said, everything was like, well, we got Cornerstone and we don't want to do a one-off and fly out. We want to book some shows around it. It would be like a couple week trip. But the shows, the scene was still in its infancy then.
Yeah.
So when you'd go play a show, you could go play one that was pretty good. There's, maybe there's a couple hundred people there. And then you go play the next one and it's at some janky church gig where there's 20 people there and they're gone at the end of the night there's no money for you, nothing.
Yeah, no merchandise sales, none of that. No.
Right.
And
you got paid $500 if we were lucky.
If we even got paid.
If we even got paid, yeah.
We certainly got burned more in the Christian market than we ever did in the secular world.
Yeah.
But
that's tales all the time.
Yeah. So,
unfortunately.
But like Jim was saying,
it tells the time today too, almost.
Mm-hmm.
Our managers, we never had like a legit booking agent. And what would have been best in that time is probably if we had a legit booking agent that put us on tours with other bands, not Christian bands,
Like Believer got to do. I remember they went out, I think, with Creator and a couple other bands like
Bolt
that.
Thrower and stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff like that.
We did.
And, but, we did at the end there when I said we should call it quits. There was a tour booked that would have probably been the biggest tour we would have ever done.
Yeah, we were going to get into that here in a second. So,
no, thanks.
So you're
go ahead, Mike. Bring it up.
But along the way, we had in our hometown, we had opened for DRI, we'd opened for Pantera, and the crowds fully accepted us. It was great by then, and the bands as well.
Was that glam Pantera?
especially
No,
this is
it
Cowboys
was
from Hell tour.
Cowboys from Hell tour.
And
They liked us a lot.
They liked us a lot, and
Yeah.
they
got a bunch of our merch and stuff. It was cool.
We could go play, you know, like a spot in Texas or something, and some kid would come up and say, "Yeah, Phil was wearing your shirt on stage last month when I saw him," you know. And there's a picture of the bass player, a picture of all four of them. The bass player is wearing a Crucified beanie, you know, and they didn't have any problem with that. They were like, these guys, we dig their music. We don't, whatever their message, I'll just leave it over there, but we dig their music, you know. So it wasn't like we couldn't be teamed up with bands like that. We just didn't have the management or booking or stuff like that to actually do that with them.
To make that happen. Yeah.
What would you attest that to? Is it just because of money than finances? Because I mean, you all weren't getting. I mean, the label, like you said, was an upstart. You didn't have the money coming in really from a label to pay for touring, like most bands were doing.
I think at that point we were making enough money with merchandise and stuff like that we could have done it. I think part of it was, to be honest, was where we lived. And we didn't know other people in the industry, like, you know, who are successful mainstream people. We pretty much everybody we were hanging with and knew were other Christian artists. So we didn't know any of the, you know,
connections,
Violence or Sacred Reich or any of like the kind of the B level bands, kind of about where we were. You know, we didn't know any of those guys to where we could say, who does your booking, you know, or anything like that. I mean, and that's probably partially our fault. You know, we didn't really make that happen. We should have made it happen, but we didn't. I don't know why.
All right. So now let's move into the Pillars era, which was a lot of that transition to that heavier style of music. So what brought that first? What the complete from punk to almost like we said earlier in our private conversation, the metal. I mean, the metal change there. Like I said, let's take out the genre, going from punk to metal. What caused that change? Was it just the times? Because I mean, that album Mark wrote lyrically was straight up telling you about what's going on the streets, you know. And like
the mean streets of Fresno.
Well, but you get my point. I mean, what we're seeing on TV with Rodney King and
yeah. I mean, I have my theory on that, but go ahead, Greg. I want to know how you saw that.
Well, I'll speak
just a
musical part.
Yeah.
I'll speak the music part. Speak the other stuff. Musically, the change was because we were getting better on our instruments. Having, you know, started so young, punk rock was easier. But you can even hear, like for me, on my guitar playing, Take Up Your Cross now had Freedom and Seal Number 4 with, you know, because I started hearing that stuff and learning how to do that. And as we went further, we were just getting better. You started hearing more double bass and stuff like that from Jim, you know. So I think that's where we just naturally wanted to be, but we couldn't be there. We weren't good enough to be there in the beginning, and we hadn't heard enough of that. We started, you know, certainly none of that was in the Christian market. That music didn't exist there. So once we started listening to these other bands, the non-Christian bands and stuff, we started hearing this music that we're like, okay, that's what we want to play. That's what we want to do, you know? So the music just got heavier and more metal elements because we were getting better and able to do that.
Yeah. I would agree. I would say, like, my take was like, same thing, you know, we got better at our instruments, number one. Not to say that punk is not, you don't have to be able to, you know, that you're a sorry musician or whatever. But the aggression and fun stuff that we heard in, you know, like we were saying, like in a Minor Threat or DRI, that kind of stuff, we heard it started hearing it in bands like Testament Slayer, Metallica, Anthrax, where it was like, oh, okay, we don't have to just play punk is the only thing aggressive. There's this stuff, and then DRI had their big crossover phase also. And I think we kind of followed along that. I mean, for me musically, yeah, for sure. Cause it was like, I loved the fills and stuff I would hear with punk stuff, then to hear that over the double picking, and just the heaviness of the chords and the music just was so much heavier to me.
That's the biggest comparison I hear is DRI. When somebody talks about the Crucified, they say DRI as a comparison.
Well, I mean, we straight up ripped them off a couple of times, with songs that we did, because we didn't know any better, per se. But I think in our early days that we were a little more compared to that Minor Threat, which I loved. I mean, I think that's probably because that was our biggest influences at the time.
Right.
Well,
yeah, like that. When I've posted stuff and people's like, when I say metal, they're like, no, they're like DRI. And I'm like, well, I see that. But like I said, it goes back to what I said a minute ago. Take out the genres because music is music.
Oh, yeah.
That's a whole different story. But
DRI had Thrash Zone. If you look at Thrash Zone and stuff, and that one, and I can't remember the one they did after that. There's all kinds of double bass on that. And it was way more
wrong. I'm not saying it wrong.
I'm saying it wrong.
But you get my point. That's the thing I get is that when I say metal, and I'm like, give me a break, people.
Yeah.
But anyways, let me ask you this. We're going back to we were talking about musicianship.
Mm-hmm.
The story goes there was the bass issue with that album. Do we want to discuss that or no? Since Jeff's not here on Pillars.
Bass issue.
I always heard there was no. I'm not a musician, so I couldn't tell you. But I've always heard people say like they were comparing it to the deal with Injustice for All with the bass situation with that.
Oh, like you couldn't hear the bass?
Yeah, it was low in the mix or something. Was that just a myth?
I didn't know that
about Pillars.
No, I never heard that about Pillars.
It's not quite as audible as the remixed versions on the box set, but that's primarily because in thrash music the bass was never loud. It was always drums. But that's interesting. Yeah, I've never heard anyone say that they couldn't.
Well, that's been, like I said, we're talking 35 years ago. So
yeah, well, everybody. I mean, it's funny. Everybody was a critic too, man, because I remember hearing I played that. Oh, the album had just come out. I was at a party in Los Angeles with some of the Deliverance guys and some Tourniquet guys. I won't be specific, but some of the guys who were not in the Deliverance were just criticizing the tone. Oh, the tone sounds like this. It would have been better if you'd have done this. This sounds like this. It'd have been better if you'd have done this. And it's just like, we wanted it to sound great and stuff, but we weren't that nitpicky, I don't think. I mean, I don't know, man, not to other people's face, but I've certainly never heard anybody say anything about the bass levels and stuff.
Like I said, it's just something I'd heard over the years. I don't remember where.
Was it you? Was it you, Mike? Were you the one who started it? I see. Oh, yeah. It's one of those, the people say.
Well, and here's another thing that people need to get through their head and understand.
Yeah.
The Crucified never was afforded the opportunity to have a producer. Everything we ever did was self-produced.
Yep.
And basically we went into studios and it was like, just go in and do what you do, And
or we bring in a CD or a cassette and go, we like the way this sounds. Can you make it sound like that?
That's exactly what we did. We never had a producer. Like all the Intense bands had a producer, they do their pre-production, whatever they did during that. And then,
Matoyer, whatever that guy's name was.
Yeah.
Bill Matoyer.
Yeah.
We didn't have any of that.
Nope.
So, and on top of that, you're talking about the engineers that we worked with. Let's talk about Pillars. Chris Morris had never listened to anything like that in his life.
Never.
Okay, he was just like a light rocker type dude, you know, and he was the house engineer for Ocean Records. So he didn't know what to do with us. So, you know, we were just in there trying to make it sound as best we could for what we were trying to do, you know?
Yeah.
So
I remember him taking us to his car and him playing some sticks, literally playing sticks and going, listen to the clarity and man, the drums and stuff. And to be honest with you, it is amazing. That's phenomenal, but it's like, that's not even close to what we're trying to do. And at the time I remember the band Violence had put out Oppressing the Masses. It was such a badass album. And we brought that in, and he didn't know what he was listening to.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't know what the heck that was.
If you're going from sticks to that for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the stuff I was listening to with some friends in high school. Was at the end of high school. It's like my mom. I mean, I luckily somehow I got my dad to listen to Anthrax. I'm the Man,
Oh,
and he absolutely loved it. And
it's kind of funny.
Yeah. So what the funny thing is, I mean, my dad's a classic rocker, you know, but now he's open minded to almost anything, which is crazy to think.
Yeah.
But like I said, for him to come in and it's like, what you listening to today? And I'm playing it, and it's like, and then of course you got the other songs on the EP, and it's like, this is pretty good stuff. And I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
it's like
that's cool.
It's like, Dad, you all right?
Right.
But I mean, we all had stuff we hid from our parents because of that time period, you know. But then, like I said, when I brought out the Christian stuff, they're like, "That's Christian stuff, okay? We'll let you listen to that." And there was a few songs that they still question, like we talked about earlier, because it's like, what? Yeah. But anyway, so Pillars took you guys to a whole different level. You were moving forward, like you said, you were opening for some of the biggest names in the metal scene. I mean, Pantera was just on a skyrocket, on a rocket strapped to their backs at that point.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Cowboys from Hell took them to the stratosphere.
Yeah.
I mean, rest in peace, Dime and Vinny,
man.
You know.
Yeah.
But so you all were ready for almost superstardom. I think were you at that point, were you talking to other major labels to try to get a co-label situation going with Pillars?
Yeah, you know, it's funny you say that, superstardom or whatever, but I think, at least in my mind, I thought for sure we were going to be able to make a living off of it, and that we were going to just go off, you know, because especially of the newer stuff that we were writing and where that was headed. Now it's just like, this is going to be a whole nother step forward, you know? And we had talks with, our record label at the time. I remember Freddie Puro. I can't even remember the name of the record. What was the record company? Ocean. Thanks. They were trying to get a producer for us. And we actually had the guy who produced not Cowboys from Hell, but Vulgar Display for Pantera. We're asking him if he wanted to produce us and send him the demo stuff, and that didn't happen. He bowed out. So we were trying. I think he was trying to shop us somewhere. Matter of fact, for over 10 years after we broke up, he swore that we were trying to do it to get out of his record deal, and that we were going to come back together and then join some other record label. He was more sure of it than we were. That's for sure. Yeah. But yeah, I think, we were trying at the time, and shoot, we were playing LA. We would sell out Gazzari's, easily, you know, and we were not selling tickets anymore. You know, they were paying us, $1,500 or whatever it was to play there at the time, which was pretty good. Weir's a place, Club Post Nuclear. It was a little farther south. We did a show there one night and it sold out to where they said, can you guys do a second night? And we did a second night and it almost sold out. I mean, so it was like in California for sure, our fan base was massive,
I mean, Gazzarri's got that legendary name. So
nobody from where we were was being paid to play at Gazzarri's. That's for dang sure. Everybody was selling tickets. You had to sell tickets to do it.
Right.
And yeah. So yeah, I mean, things were up on the upswing for sure. Yeah.
So, and you were hinted at, I don't know if we want to discuss it. We don't have to. You were hinting, we were talking about the music part of that, and you were you said something about the lyrical part when I said the streets and the life or the way the world was at the time. Did you have more to say about that, or we just want to leave it mum?
I want to see. I'm curious. I see that smirk. I want to hear what you have to say, Jim.
Well, it was kind of funny. Mark lived in a apartment that was not the greatest area, but it's not like it was at Martin Luther King and Chavez Boulevard down in the worst part of town or whatever. It wasn't like he was that and or anything like that. He was in a bad area and stuff, and he knew some folks who were going through it and stuff. He just really I think it was because he was really into the rap scene,
Yeah.
And
the album he despises.
the NWA, and Ice Cube and Ice-T and stuff. I mean, he really was into the streets, the streets. So I think that was a little more yeah, it was just a little more of that time, the era he was in his mindset, than it was anything lived experientially. Let's put it that way.
Well, I didn't mean it that way, but I mean, seeing what's out there.
Yeah.
Like I said, not much longer after Pillars was out, he was releasing a rap album. So
yeah, right. Which I thought was really good, to be honest with you.
I thought he did a great job. At that time, I thought it was great.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. But yeah, doing Blackstone, I remember I was just like, what? We're gonna play you're just on the street corner. It's just cars going by. And he was like, oh no, check out this, and he would show me some, I don't know, Ice-T song and stuff where the beginning of it, there's just people talking and everybody's at a party and it's like, hey, yo, this and that, He's kind of like that, just like the background of the city, It's like, sure. Yeah. Sounds good, man. And then, didn't Chris play on that too? Chris Morris or on Blackstone?
Yeah, he did because I remember I was like, hey, you want to play on the album? Why don't you play the guitar part underneath the lead part on Blackstone?
Yeah.
So it's 3 chords. I'm like, here, you play it. That way you can say you played on the record.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, there's still songs on that album. Lyrically, I'm just like, man, so good, so well said. He was. Yeah, like I said earlier, I don't think we were online yet, but that was the beginning of his blossom right there. And to what he's become now. I think that was really the catalyst. That album, he had some phenomenal lyrics on that album.
Mindbender is my all-time favorite metal song. I actually want to get a tattoo. I've got the thorns and nails already. Yeah, but I want to get a praying hands where they're gripped. Like you can see that. I don't know if you can like that.
Yeah.
And then close your eyes, release your mind, close your eyes.
Yeah.
Just as that little quote goes, pray about what's going on by closing your eyes, release your mind to that. But
interesting. Yeah.
But everybody's like, what's that mean? I was like, and then I give them the lyrics to the song, and I'm like, you see what my point is here now? It's like we're all being fed so many different ways. especially from the TV screen, the phone screen, the computer screen, whatever we're looking at each day.
Yeah, it's pertinent for sure for today, even more so. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were moving forward there. You released 2 extra songs that were going to be on the new album, Power of God, and such.
Mm-hmm.
And then life happened with someone. I vaguely remember this, but life happened, and that was the splinter that killed the band, if I'm not mistaken. Was that right?
Yeah, that was me.
I killed it.
Well, Jim kind of killed it, but yeah, I was out of the band, and then, like I said earlier, John Maddox was gonna replace me, and John had played with. Did he just do one Deliverance record?
I think he did one Deliverance record.
One, I think. Yeah, that sounds right.
He played with a band called Judgment, and they'd opened up for us down in Southern California before, so we'd known him for a long time, and then he ended up joining Deliverance and doing the Learn record.
Yeah, it was about the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was going to replace me once I was out, and then well, you'd have to tell the rest of that. I heard it. I heard it from John last time he was out here and came over to my house.
Yeah, I decided I didn't want to do it. I didn't think it didn't feel right to replace Greg. And I just it wasn't just Greg. It was just the whole thing. It was. I mean, I know people are going to disagree with me in this circle, not you, Greg, but I mean, for what we were saying and what we were trying to communicate to people, I just thought that we were not living up to that in a way that would honor the thing that we're even trying to say. And I with that being said, I fully admit I was a grade A. Can I cuss on your show?
Sure. Say what you got to feel.
I was a grade A asshole. Okay. I was so pious, Mr. I didn't let anything slide because I'm going to make sure we're the best Christians are going to be Christian. And I put such a wall between Greg, somebody I'd known forever, Mark and Jeff. It's like there's stuff going on in their lives. I had no idea. It was after a certain book came out, it was kind of worse than I even knew. But that was because they were scared to talk to me because they didn't want to hear me reprimand them all the time.
Well, you were the band technically.
No. I was not the band. No. I wouldn't say that.
That's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. But I mean, you and Greg were the founders of all this.
Well, yeah, I would say Greg and I. Yeah,
that's what I mean. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Not meaning you were the band. Not meaning you were the band and you had control. Sorry.
Not at all. Yeah, not at all. I mean, I think, and looking back, it's like I can't imagine trying to write without Greg. It's like there's no way we would have been able to do anything like that. Even if just say musically, and we're like putting the spiritual aside, let's just go. We're going to do it. It would have never been the Crucified. Never. The other 2 bass players we've had, Jeff and Mark Johnson, contributed some to songwriting, but it was mainly Greg and I. Greg with the riffs, and then we would get together and we would put the songs together. And I would have never been the same with anybody else, really. And but yeah, I just there's a lot of things that went wrong. But even then, you look back and it's like the impact that the Lord allowed it to have, even with all these, leaky vessels trying to proclaim his name, he still honored his word, and he still honored what when his word was spoke, and even by somebody who maybe didn't believe it at the time, he still honored that because it was the truth,
Well, we wouldn't still be talking about it 35 years later, plain and simple.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you just worked on an album from your current band, The Blamed, as a tribute to a band that's been gone for 35 years. We wouldn't be talking about it today.
Right.
And you gentlemen are all respected in the scene as a whole as the Crucified. You're also respected individually in different ways, from your playing, not just in different bands, but in your playing and as a whole, as a person. We wouldn't be sitting here tonight if that wasn't the case. You made an impact on a scene that first didn't want you, to a scene that finally started really accepting you, and then all of a sudden it's over.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, we still talk about you. You were one of the first produced remastered albums that was put out in the scene 15 years ago, so at half that time. So there's legitimacy that's been, like you said, Lord's kept his promise by having that continue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you wouldn't be doing all the projects you're doing, Jim, all the projects Greg's doing with that, and bringing Applehead back. Who would have thought after the Mynheer solo album and then doing Applehead that he'd still be doing this thing again the same amount of time?
Well, he almost quit. There was quite a few times. This guy, he played so much in cover band stuff. He was doing cover band stuff 2 or 3 nights a week for freaking years. And I remember after a while, you were like, I'm done. I was like, he was doing nothing for a while. And I was just like, dude, you're way too talented to just go, I can't do this anymore. And I am so happy for him that his creative juices are totally back. He has lost nothing in his abilities, and that's like with Applehead. That's what was it MFT? Is the cover band?
Cover band, yeah.
Yeah, cover band, doing the cult tribute stuff. I mean, it's just, when you have talent like that, it's kind of like burying your talent, like with the parable of the talents, you know what I mean? You don't want to just bury it and go, well, it was good then, I'm going to keep it down here and I'll just leave it there. And, sooner or later, I'll pull it up, anyway, you don't want to bury your talent, basically,
You can. When I moved out here to Tennessee, it had zero to do with music. It was just to get the heck out of California. But I was burnt out because I had done, and for a long time it was 5 nights a week, as a living.
Dang.
But I was just so sick of playing music. And then after sitting around here not doing anything, I did start getting the itch again. And now, since you can record stuff at home and not, have to go in and spend tens of thousands of dollars in a studio, that makes it nice. But I wanted to reverse back to, first of all, I don't know, maybe this will make you feel better, Jim, when you were talking about being a pious butthole. I think that was just, there was a recipe in that band for that to happen, because I was a freshman, Mark was a sophomore, and you were a senior. You were like the daddy of the group. So I think as you ended up being an adult, you had a job, you got married early, you had a home, and then you started having a family. And we were just coming out of our teenage years. We didn't know who the heck we were, So I think you assumed that role very early, and
Yeah.
probably just kept it going. And then on the flip side of that, you had no idea what was going on with the other members of the band because you had a life going on that was consuming for you. And then I was just being me, doing my own thing. But then you had Mark and Jeff who hated each other at that point, a couple near fist fights me, Mark, and Jeff and one other guy lived in this apartment together, and Mark was struggling with his own identity, like, who am I? This color or am I this color? Whatever.
Color of his thing ain't none of your business.
Jeff just turned into he started working at this record store, Tower Records, and everyone that worked there, I think, was just a total jackass. Like they just thought they knew everything about music and their opinion was right and this and that. And where I'm going with that is we were all going completely different directions. And I disagree with you, Jim, about what would have become a third album.
Really?
Straining Life and Power of God were the only two good songs we had. I listened, I don't know how many years ago, not so long ago, I listened to the boombox recordings of all those songs we were working on.
Yeah.
They were horrible. They sucked. My memory from that time, though, I always thought, man, if we would have done that third album, it would have just been killer. And then I went back years and years later, listened to it. Those ideas were so stale and just, it sounded like we were totally forcing it, like just trying to do something. I know at that time I was totally forcing it because I was already writing songs and playing with that Sweet Mary. Right. And that was something that I saw like big dollar signs in. And there's a whole story to that was this close. And if it would have happened, first of all, I would probably be dead right now, but I would have been rich before I was dead. So it's probably good it didn't happen. But I was burnt out on thrash. So all my guitar ideas it was just like rechurned junk.
Interesting.
And Jeff didn't like a single idea I had. I remember we were trying to write in rehearsals. He hated everything that I came up with. And it was like, only liked what he did and this and that. And I have no idea how much Mark was into any of it, but it wouldn't have been.
You don't think so? Oh, that's good to know.
If you listen to it now, and I forgot who has that recording. I think it was Tim.
I've heard it. Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah. I don't have it, but
my opinion, of listening to it like 20 plus years later was, oh man, I'm glad we didn't put that out. So, but the first the two songs that we recorded and demoed, Power of God and Straining Life, are just those were
that could have carried a whole freaking album, to be quite honest with you.
And Mark's lyrics on Power of God are so ridiculously good. I never, honestly, I didn't care about the lyrics way back then. He would show us the lyrics at rehearsal when we were writing the songs. I'd read them once and be like, yeah, cool, and everything. Because back then, all I listened to was guitar and drums. I didn't listen to singers and what they were singing and stuff. Since I've gone back decades later and like listened to his lyrics on Pillars, man, what a lyricist, and they're not cheesy Christian lyrics.
No,
like most people write. They're life lyrics.
Well, that was my point earlier. Exactly.
Yeah. Writing. Mark's an emotional guy,
Yeah.
And he's never been a super happy, lucky go guy, and he wrote from that, and it was real. Maybe some of the stuff was more real to him than we thought,
Yeah.
But
He felt it. Yeah.
But when I listened probably 5-6 years ago, listened to Power of God again, and someone put a video up on YouTube and it has the lyrics on it, and I was like, wow, that is like one of the best, I'll call it Christian lyrics, but it's like a worship song, totally.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's almost praise and worship.
It's just
at the extreme.
Yeah.
The power and the awesomeness of God and how we're nothing. You don't get that out of most Christian music.
No.
You don't. And I don't know. Anyway, so kudos to him for writing that.
Yeah,
100%.
There was one time I was listening to a playlist I created out at work, and this has been 10 years ago, and it comes up in my memories all the time. But Power of God by you guys, and then Power of God by Living Sacrifice came up back to back.
Oh yeah.
And you're talking about an interesting, just a moment there for me, anyways. And I'm not a praise and worship person unless it's something that's going to be like that.
Yeah.
So,
That's funny.
Yeah. So we going back real quick to Greg here with the what was it? The Mary? What was the Mary? What?
Sweet Mary.
Sweet Mary. That was courted by mainstream labels, if I remember correct.
Yeah.
Right.
So
like Elektra and such or something.
I'll try to make it as short as possible. So the first big thing that happened was we signed a production deal with Matt Sorum of Guns N' Roses, and it was a 9-month deal. And but this was at a time when grunge had completely. This is in like '93, early '93. Rock and roll was just decimated, destroyed. Okay, so even Guns N' Roses at this time, when we were working with them, it's like in the States, they were just pretty much tanked as much as Guns N' Roses could ever be tanked, if you can believe that. But then they would go, he'd be like, okay, I'm going to be gone this next weekend. We're playing 2 nights in Brazil for like 200,000 people a night, comes back, tells me how much money he made off those 2 shows. His show pay for each night was like 150 grand, not everything is. So anyway, long story short, we go in and cut a demo, and it's all in like the real LA studios and this and that. But he produced us very just straight ahead rock and roll. So we did this. What do you call a show where you play for like labels and stuff like that? Show? What do you call that?
I know what you're talking about. My brain just shut off.
Anyway, he
fart. Yeah.
He booked the Troubadour for us, and so the Troubadour was closed down, and we just played, and he sent out everything to all these labels, and I think like one showed up. So I'm like, okay, this guy has no pull in the music industry in the US, at least right now. I mean, it's done, right? So we waited out that contract, and we both decided to go our own ways. Well, we kept playing, and a guy named Mike, I can't remember his last name. He worked with Guns N' Roses as part of their management team. He stayed with us on the side as our manager just for free because he loved us and believed in us. And we kept playing. And then one night, the vice president of A&R for Sony Records came and saw us, and he loved us. He starts coming to all our rehearsals, and he ended up setting us up with this producer who started coming to all our rehearsals, a producer that had worked with female singers. And that was a big thing because Matt Sorum didn't know how to work with a female singer. So they like fought in the studio.
And that was the big thing right about that time too.
It was yeah. So anyway, the last time I ever saw Ken Commissar was his name, the VP for A&R at Sony. He was at our rehearsal and he says, guys, I'm convinced. I want to sign you. So you and whoever this producer was, I forget his name. He said, I want you guys to get the arrangements tightened up, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And then we're going to do the deal. So we work with this guy for about another month at rehearsals, and we're recording the songs just on my recording equipment, trying to get, the arrangements the way he wanted to produce them. And then the last time I saw him, he came to rehearsal and he said, hey guys, I got bad news. Ken, the Sony guy, left Sony and went to another label, and they have 0 rock format. So there's no deal anymore. That's no deal hanging over our head. So he said, I can't keep coming here and working on this while you guys don't have anything, waiting. So at this time in this band as well, I was just hanging on thinking, I got 50% of all these songs. If a record comes out, and I used to calculate it all. If it sold 1 million copies, this is how much I would make. Oh
yeah.
By that time, I couldn't stand working with the singer either. It just became so much work, and I was burnt out on that too. And so I just ended up bailing and quitting, and that's when I moved back up to Madera and started playing covers full time. So it was
what could have been.
But honestly, like I said, because when I moved home and started spending literally all my time in bars, and I never ever lost my faith for a couple decades there. I didn't lose my faith, but I didn't practice it. And I went full blown into sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I lived it because I was never allowed to do any of that. And all of a sudden, no one was watching me. No one cared what I did. And, that's why earlier I said, if I ever actually made it, especially with a secular deal, I probably would have succumbed to too many temptations to even be here anymore. So, God has his plan, and I'm here now, and I'm not dead. And, and I don't do all that stuff anymore.
All right, Jim, where did you disappear for? I mean, you didn't disappear, but what's your story for the last 30 years playing with half a dozen bands here and there?
I just after the Blamed, after that kind of fell apart, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I wanted to do something, because I have not one of those guys who just well, yeah, I used to do that when I was younger, and I don't do it. I want to play. I always want to play. And so I hooked up with some friend of mine here in town, Mike Phillips, who played with Deliverance for quite a few years. And we did a heavier band called Face Down for a couple of years, and that was doing okay. We were on Rescue Records, and I probably played my biggest show ever with them. And it was at there was a evangelist called Luis Palau, and we got on the bill for that. He had Skillet was playing, DC Talk, what's the name of that one band? Anyway, a couple of bands that were really popular at the time, and we were way heavier than all of them. And we got up to play, and it was on the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, and there was 10,000 plus people there, for this free concert evangelism type of thing. And we only played 4 songs, but it was so freaking awesome, and I was just man, I can't wait. Hopefully we could do this a lot, Well, nothing ever really came of it. And then, that kind of pootered out. The Rescue Records kind of under. We tried putting our own thing out. That didn't go so well. Then after that, it was like I'd play in Deliverance for a while. Then Deliverance wouldn't be something. I get some opportunities to do the Blamed, like reunion stuff. That would happen. We did a couple of Crucified reunion things. And I was just always looking for something. I had been in a couple other local punk bands that did some stuff that was fun, but it's tough, man, because where we were towards the end of the Crucified is like, once you get a taste of that, it can be pretty humbling to play, to try to pay your dues again in the local scene, when you're just like, dude, I've done more than all these clowns here, and it's like, but you're not getting any respect, and but because nobody knows who you are, and unless they're a Christian and they knew the Christian music scene, but I've just been kind of chasing that, to be honest with you. I just want to play. I want to play shows. I want to play with good musicians. I made the mistake of playing with people just to play because I wanted to play, and have done some horrible projects that aren't, I'm not proud of. So I'm trying to be a little more picky about that kind of stuff. I got to play with Mike Knott before he passed, a couple of years before he passed. I played on a record of his. There's just a lot of things where I thought, oh, okay, maybe I'm gonna get to do some more stuff with that. And then that just kind of like, everything just kind of pootered out, So the Deliverance stuff was going quite well there for a while. We put an album out in 2018.
Merciful kind.
Yeah. And we thought that was gonna, do something with that.
That was going through the resurgence. Yeah.
Yeah. I was hoping for that. And that went through 3 or 4 reiterations of the band and stuff. And so right now that's kind of on hiatus.
He's working like a dog.
Yeah. And the Blamed is trying to pick things up again. Brian is feeling a lot better after his surgery from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we're discussing getting him on later on in the fall. So
yeah, for sure.
Catching up with him with his health issues.
Yes, things are going well there. I actually joined NIV, Known as a Victim, a couple of years ago. Was asked to join that band. That was super cool. That was.
I think they carried on. They were one of the first bands that carried on the torch heavily with Crucified. I mean, them and Focused and a few of those. Yeah. They were one of the first bands and they were on Rescue Records too for a hot minute.
Yeah, for a hot minute. Yeah. They were on Victory and stuff, and they went on tour with Hatebreed and Gnostic Front. Right. Bands like that. I was just like, I was very excited about that. And they hadn't played in a while. We did a show at Furnace Fest, and that was a big show too. That was really big. That was a lot of fun. I've played some really good shows with them.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't try to get when Chad was booking because he was trying to bring all these bands back that hadn't played together for years. Didn't try to do a Crucified reunion at one of those that he was doing before he sold it off.
It's funny you say that, because when I was there, I had quite a few people tell me that. Even the people in mainstream bands that were like, "Oh, dude, the Crucified! I remember the Crucified." I went and saw you when I was a kid in LA and all this stuff. It was like, oh, really? So I was like, man, maybe we could do this. And we contacted them, and there wasn't much interest. We were too early, because they focused on like 90s and later.
Yeah, early 2000s. Yeah.
Yeah. So we kind of were pretty much over by the early 90s. So
yeah, but he had Living Sacrifice there a few times. So I was like,
I know.
But,
yeah.
So
we all that was the last time we all actually agreed to do something, and it just didn't happen. So, which I don't think that'll ever happen again. But
we won't get into arguments and disagreements and such.
Here. Oh, no.
That is
it has nothing to do with that. It just, yeah.
But I you know what I'm saying, though. It's just,
yeah.
We don't want to, right. We don't want to talk bad. We don't want to say things that could hurt someone else's feelings or be he said, she said type
I
of
don't
saying.
care what
Could it be
Greg
he said, he
thinks.
said?
I'll say it right to his face.
So we're at an hour and a half in, so we'll get to the closing here. But we're going to talk. We're going to talk about what's the future hold. Where does Greg see himself with Applehead and other projects he's working at? Where Jim looks at in the future doing teaching drums plus playing maybe. So Greg, it's your turn because Jim was just talking. So we'll start back to Greg here for a second.
Okay, I don't know. Well, the next Applehead record's going to come out in late October, early November, and I don't know how much I have in me after that. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to keep chasing down that road or try something a little different. I just want to get out and play. I don't care what type of music it is, because the thing is like anytime I put out a record, it costs me, $5-6 grand out of my own pocket.
Right.
Because I can record it and produce it all myself, but I'm not going to mix it. So I got to pay someone to do that. And to do it well, so I'm just, I don't know. It's crazy. I don't want to sound like a little whiny baby, but I'll sound like a whiny baby for a minute. Out here in the Nashville area, I've met a lot of people, a handful, but a decent handful of people that are quite successful in the Christian industry, and just no one. Nashville isn't what it used to be. I know when I moved out here, people tell me, "Oh, it's Nashville. Everyone's so cool and this and that, and they're willing to help you out and blah blah blah." Dude, people don't give you the time of day out here. It's like LA in the 80s, late 80s or something. No one wants to listen to anything you have. No one wants to give you advice. It's just every man for himself. And after a while, you just get tired of asking people for, 5 minutes of their time to listen to a song or something, or give you some advice. I don't know. It's just, I've gotten soured on that. But I think I'll probably always record music just because I love recording music. But I don't know. I mean, I really wish there could be something more. I don't care about fame or fortune or anything like that, but I'd like to be able to go play my guitar and sing, a song for people and not have to have it always have to be in cover bands. You know what I mean?
Do some originals that'll get out there.
I love doing that. And the reason I do it is because I'm not going to sit here in this room and pick up a guitar and practice or sing songs. The love for that of, sitting there and practicing and learning songs and stuff by myself has been gone for, a very, very long time, but I still love to play and sing for other people. I just wish that, that didn't always have to be by doing, covers. So we've got this Applehead show on Saturday, which is going to be fun, but it's been like pulling teeth to get an Applehead show, even here in Nashville. It sucks. It sucks.
And you've only played maybe a dozen Applehead shows?
Not even. I mean, out here we've played like 4 over the last.
But I'm talking about in the last 30 years, even.
Even there, Applehead's never played a show. The only time Applehead songs even got played was me, Jim, Jeff, and a guitarist from a band that was opening up for us. I would ask them to learn a couple songs, and then we would just play a couple Applehead songs before the Crucified set. But Applehead had never actually like played a show way back when.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I didn't think it was that many.
No.
But it's good to hear that you're still wanting to have those creative juices flowing, even at our age. You still want to perform. That says a lot.
Well, like Jim was saying, it's for a lot. I mean, some people can just put it down and give it up, and I did that way back when. But I came to the realization, like Jim was saying, is just that I'm never going to be able to just totally walk away from it, So it's like thank you, God, for the talents that you gave me. And they're a lot more limited than someone like Jim might think. But I would prefer to use them in situations that are glorifying you. So to help me out,
Right.
Let me get out there and do something. It's, way back in the day, when you first become a musician, I had all the dreams of, making it as a big rock star and all that stuff. And that's long gone. I mean, I'm fortunate enough, and Jim's fortunate enough that we don't need to be out there making money and this and that. I just want to play. I want to go out and have fun and play. I don't want to pay to do it,
right?
But I don't care if I come home with a big pocket full of money. I just want to play and have fun. So whichever way that's going to happen nowadays, if I got to go play covers to play and have fun and exercise my voice and play some riffs and rock out, then whichever way I got to do that, I got to do it,
Right. All right. One last question for you as we go to Jim. Who are your influences? Vocally, you said Ian. And then what about playing guitar?
Yeah, so he's my favorite singer, and maybe that's because I can pull it off. I mean, I don't really have like one or two major influences. Like a lot of guitarists would say, like Eddie Van Halen for me, whatever. I just know that the ones that influenced me as a kid, if I had to pick one that got me interested in the guitar, it would be Ace from Kiss. That was my first record, was the first Kiss album, and it blew me away. And that's, I was like, I want to do what that guy does. But I don't have like guys that I've studied and are like a huge influence on me.
Okay. All right, Mr. Jim.
You want to stick with influence?
Well, no, we're going back. What's the future hold first, and then we'll get to influence.
Yeah. There's stuff on the horizon for NIV that I think is going to pick up in 2027, which is going to be good. We've got some couple of songs that we have done together. Haven't put anything out yet, kind of trying to, I'm waiting for them on that. Cause I'm the latecomer on that. Obviously I'm not an OG in that respect. So I'm kind of just not trying to be too pushy,
right.
And when they're ready,
like Jason, get a hold of me. Come on now.
Yeah. When they're ready, I'm ready. I just let them know that, dude, when you're ready, I'm ready. You want to go? I'm ready to go. Cause I have the ability to do that now. So just whenever you're ready, I'm ready. And, and then the Blamed has got some stuff coming up. We've been working on a new album for a while now. Actually, we kind of took a break and did the Crucified stuff just so we could put something out there in between time. But yeah, starting September, we're going to be working on that. So a lot of recording stuff working on, and then just playing as much as I can. And I'm really happy with the drum lessons. I have a lot of really neat times with my students, adults and kids. And that's really cool. You know, I do it just enough, but I'm glad that's not the only thing I do. You know, like I love to play live. I like to record too, but my thing is playing live, you know. So I've been playing a lot with the punk band, and that's, like I say, I mean, it's, you know, there's 15 people there, 20 people there. But you know, it's been fun. Yeah, that, and then cover band stuff. I like that because you get paid, you know. And as long as there's people there dancing, if somebody's dancing, I'm happy.
Or
Just
drinking.
Well, if they're drinking, they're dancing most by the time the show's over.
Well, if I'm saying, or drinking.
Yeah. Because just like back, you know, with the punk stuff, it was like, if there's a pit, I'm happy, you know. And you get people, you know, to move as a drummer, you know, then that's awesome. I love it, you know. So yeah, just playing as much as I possibly can, as long as I possibly can. I wasn't going to bring it up, but I'll be 60 in this October. And I it's hard for me to even say that number. You know?
Once I got past 50, it was like, what?
Yeah. So, you know, thank God I still have my health, because I know there's a lot of the guys from that era who don't have that anymore, you know. I could still play just almost as fast as I used to, you know, keeping that up and everything. So I just want to stay there, you know, as long as I can. And as far as influences go, like Greg, I didn't have one guy. Probably the guy I would say that I ever studied was Dave Lombardo. Just trying to learn the fills that he played, you know, and stuff like that. But I loved him. I loved Lars. But before him was Gary Olson from Undercover. Was the fastest drummer I had ever heard, you know. And I got to meet him last year, which it was such a blessing, man. It was so cool. I'd never, as many times I'd seen those guys, I never really met him. I met Joey Taylor a couple times, but I never met Gary Olson. I never met Jim Nicholson and stuff. And they were at the TomCon convention that I went to.
I would have loved to went to that.
I actually got to meet them and talk with them and stuff. And that was super cool. Super, super cool. But yeah, there was a drummer for the band, the 77s, Aaron something.
Smith. Aaron Smith.
Yes, thank you.
Aaron A-Train Smith.
A-Train, yeah, that guy I was amazing.
Legendary A-Train, because he's
one of the he's one of the non-punk metal guys that I first saw, because I saw them live a lot too. Also, just in this, because they played a lot in our area, was just blown away. So freaking good. But yeah, it was mainly those guys, and after that, you know, I heard Neil Peart, and that was amazing. But like a lot of that's kind of it, you know. After a while, for me, it's like guys do so much. It just sounds like noise after a while to me sometimes. Yeah. Probably the only new drummer that I've heard that I was like, dang, that guy's amazing, is Eloy Casagrande, who's with Slipknot now.
Yeah.
But even way back when he was playing with Sepultura, and before that guy's been doing it for a long time, long time. Him and I think it's Tony Cruz, who plays for Lamb of God now. Yeah. That dude is phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm looking at that last fall.
Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, I always go back to, you can hear, oh God, I almost forgot. Robert Sweet, like his hi-hat stuff that he would do in, you know, you know, like not Iron Man, but generals gathered in their masses, war pigs. You know, with the hi-hat stuff like that. I took a lot of that stuff, the snare, hitting the cymbal on the snare. Right. Lars did that a lot. I kind of like to do that a lot, and the halftime that he would throw into parts when he's, you know, that kind of stuff. Him and Lombardo. Yeah, just those guys. I always go back to that. Yeah. Oh, and Ben Kohler. There's a band called Converge. He plays with Mutoid Man, I think it's called. Anyway, Ben Kohler is also another just like phenomenal drummer. Great, like very creative, super creative. I was blessed to take a couple lessons, online lessons with him and stuff, and just pick his brain, and that was freaking awesome.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. So, yep.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I appreciate you all taking an hour and 45 minutes with me this evening.
Well, thanks for staying up so late.
Well, like I said, it's no biggie. That's no biggie for me. I mean, I'll get there when I get there anymore. So
yeah, exactly, right.
So, but I'm glad to see you guys still doing music, enjoying it, making a life of it. I mean, to think you went the last 40 plus years doing what you love.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Because a lot of guys like Greg did. I mean, he gave it up because he was burnt out, tired of the scenes of different varieties.
It happens.
It's anything. I'm going through some struggles just with 7 years on a job, and it's almost like burnout some days. And it's like, man, why am I still here?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, well, anyways, guys, appreciate you being on Radios with Metal Mike. Stick around for a few minutes after we're done. I'll just chat with you for a couple more minutes personally. And everybody check out Radio Oz on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify playlists, and YouTube. This video will be uploaded to YouTube this evening. And for further, everybody can keep watching it after Facebook deletes it after 30 days. Thanks again, everybody. Appreciate everybody's support. Yeah, talk to y'all and see y'all soon. Thanks.
See ya.